today about a verse in Psalm 91, and it's verse 1, and it says this: "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty." Now, I don't know about you, but I come up against so many things in my life where I suddenly just want to do something, or I feel something, and it can be really overwhelming. Recently I was on a bus with a friend called Anna, who's a dear friend of mine, and she said to me, "Emily, over the years I've learned that when something happens I should straight away take it to the Lord first of all." So I speak to him and I tell him all of my feelings, and he gives me a peace and a rest. Now, I've made 2018 a year when I learned to trust God more. I do trust God in many things, but I know I have to trust him more, particularly in emotional situations and emotional reactions. Sometimes people can say things and do things and they can hurt us so very deeply to the point where we don't even know what to do with ourselves. This is the area that I want to work on in my life in 2018. This verse has become so precious to me because when I looked into the Hebrew of this verse, there are different meanings for the different words that we don't quite recognize in the English. For instance, he who dwells, the word dwells there doesn't mean to live permanently, it means to take a seat and to sit down. So he who chooses to take a seat in the shelter of the Most High. And the word shelter there literally means something over you, some way that you live to protect you. So he who chooses to sit down under God's protection. And the sitting down is the issue. In all of these situations, do I choose, first of all, to sit down? Anna does. She literally imagines that she's got a seat and she's sitting on that seat with God and going to talk over this situation. And I began to realise that's what I need to do in my life. I need, when these things happen, to take a seat under the protection and the shelter of God, where I can say everything I want to say, how I feel, ask the questions that I want to ask, without there being a reaction from someone who can't see all things like I can't see all things. So before I even talk to them about it, I need to learn to talk to him about it. Now, I just had a conversation today where I didn't get this right. Something happened and I responded. I didn't respond angrily, but I asked a question that really I think would have been better to be asked at another time. The person would have understood it better and we could have spoken about it a lot calmer. It didn't do them any good, me asking the question, and it didn't do me any good in the end because of their reaction. I didn't react how I used to react, but I did still ask something that would have been better left. So the first thing I want to learn in every situation is to take a seat, to not respond, to not even give my reaction or give my answer, but just say, okay, then in my mind, in my spirit, in my heart, take a seat with the Lord, because we can do it anywhere. The Bible says, go into your inner man. That's what the word closet means. It means the inner self. Go into the inner self, shut at the door to every other opportunity, and speak to your Father who will restore you. The word reward actually means restore. So our Father sees the inside intimately, and we can speak to him intimately on our inside. And I need to learn to take a seat. Now the next bit of that verse says, will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. And the incredible thing is that the word abide means to permanently stay. And the word rest or shadow means defense. So when I choose to take a seat, I choose to go, okay, God, I've come to have a word with you here. I've come to speak to you. I'm sitting on this seat. You sit there. We need to talk this out. You know, in Isaiah it says, let us reason together. So here I am, and I'm taking my seat, and I've come to speak to you, God. But God does the permanent. We do what is temporary because that's all we can do as humans, but God does the permanent. So he says, if you come and take a seat in my presence to talk just to me intimately, then you will permanently live under the defense, under my defense, under the shadow of my rest, and you have that peace because you've come to speak to him. He is the God who can do all things in all situations, more than we could ever ask or ever imagine. So I want to challenge you all to take 2018 like me, to learn to trust him more in every single situation. I'm going to see you again tomorrow. Take care.